Oh my. This is definitely the picture of the week, maybe even the month. Seeing Iranian and Saudi official shaking hands in China, who would have thought that would happen? But this is really what happened this weekend when China managed to broker a peace treaty and a thawing of the relation between Iran and Saudi Arabia. After 7 years of diplomatic tension, the two countries have agreed to reopen embassies in both countries and to start talking to resume talk that was really severed few years back. Now that China is presenting itself as a peace broker and peacemakers in the Middle East, let's see how much it's going to grow its influence in the region. And of course, that signing did not leave Israeli and the US and the other countries in the region indifferent of what's happened there. Now questions are arising. Is it really the rise of a new superpower in the region? Is really now the moment that China is displacing the US as the major peace broker and the major actor in the Middle East? Or is it just this attempt of China to assert itself as now a global power when it comes to peacemaking? Let's not forget that a few weeks back, China released its concept note of global security initiative, where it was talking about peace in the Middle East and elsewhere in the world. And now we see that, it's managing to put Saudi and Iranian on the same table and to sign that peace agreement. So it's too early for now to assume that it's going to be a success because it's the Middle East. You never know what may happen. You never know how things are going to unfold. You really have to be following the situation closely to see how it's going to happen, how it's going to unfold. Will China really be able to pull that out and make that peace last between Iran and Saudi Arabia? It's too early to say because we do know that those two countries they really have difficult story. At least for now, Beijing has managed to do something that many couldn't do for the last few years. But they couldn't just make it. But China succeeded. Of course, we know there is involvement of countries like Iraq and Oman into the process. But yes, the fact to see that peace, that reconciliation happening in Beijing was by itself a victory for the Chinese diplomacy in the region. So let's see what's going to happen and how things are going to unfold. Now that China is raising itself as a superpower, for me it's like, are we going to see China play a similar role elsewhere in the world? For instance, in Africa, Africa, where China has a lot of leverage, yet a lot of friendly countries, and where the situations are less complex. Are we really going to see China pull the same, pull the same act in the region to be able to broker peace treaty? That with the head appointed Sui being a special envoy in the Horn of Africa, but it didn't do that much in the Horn of Africa, to the extent that when the peace treaty was signed in Tigray between the Ethiopian government and the Tigray rebel, China was not really involved in the process. So what they've done in the Middle East, will they be able to reproduce it and do the same elsewhere where they have really major interests like in Africa? It's still early to say. We're gonna see how it's going to unfold. Hey, you guys, we'd like to have your thoughts on how China is evolving and how the situation is going to happen. Do you think that China is going to manage to make that peace treaty last in the Middle East between Iran and Saudi Arabia? Do you think that we're going to see a lot of more China out there, especially in areas like in Africa, where they be able to also broker a peace treaty in different difficult regions? Because you will know that we have very difficult situation in Africa. Do you think that China will be able to do the same that it did in Iran for Iran and Saudi Arabia. So please just leave us your comment down below. We'd like to have your thought and see what do you think about the whole situation. So that's gonna be for me today, and I'm gonna be seeing you next week for another video of China. So to follow a bit more about the story, don't forget to visit our website, ChinaGlobalSouthProject.com, where you're gonna see all the coverage that we've done over the since the weekend and yesterday and today about how the story is unfolding. You're gonna find U.S. opinion on the matter, Israeli reaction on that, and different think tank in the Middle East, in the U.S. What do they think about what's going to happen? So we are also going to have two podcasts coming out this week on that specific story. So stay tuned and don't miss out our full coverage of that story, how it's unfolding over the week. So I'm going to see you next week for another video of China in the Global South.